Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
The Avengers movies have made over $7.5 billion. From having some of the most iconic moments of the last decade, the Avengers are the most recognized superhero team in all of comics. But their success is not guaranteed. Debuting in Avengers number 1, 1963, the original team was founded with heroes who all had their own series at the time, namely Thor, the Wasp, Giant Man, Iron Man, and the Hulk. The group formed by accident, defeated Loki in their first issue, and joined forces, with the Wasp titling themselves the Avengers. The Avengers boasted some of Marvel's greatest villains, from Kang to Zemo and Ultron, and the team became a major staple of the Marvel Universe. The roster expanded to include many members, with Captain America always being recognized as one of the de facto leaders. However, by the turn of the century, things weren't looking well for Marvel. It went through a humiliating Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the late 90s, saw wave after wave of layoffs, and executive leadership was shuffled every few weeks. In 1999, after years of dominance, the company lost its top industry market share to DC Comics. By cultural standards at the time, Marvel was fading fast. The brightly colored Avengers and corny villains clashed with the dark, edgy mood of the time. Marvel needed a win, and they needed it soon. Enter the new editor-in-chief, Bill Jemas. To combat Marvel's woes, he suggested a new line of comics, an imprint to update the Marvel roster for the modern day. What launched from this effort was the Ultimate Universe. No prior reading required, the classic heroes updated for the modern era. Anyone could pick up an issue and have it make sense. Ultimate Spider-Man and X-Men launched to critical acclaim, but what came next helped change not just Marvel, but superhero comics as a whole. With the Ultimate Universe as a success, Marvel wanted to reboot their biggest team, the Avengers. To do this, they turned to an acclaimed but controversial writer, Mark Millar. Miller was known at the time for his work on The Authority, where he played with very shocking and provocative stories. Brian Michael Bendis, writer of Ultimate Spider-Man, said about Miller, quote, "I'm writing about hope, and he's writing about nihilism, and I know he doesn't always think he is, but he is, constantly," end quote. Miller was divisive, but Jemas knew he'd be the man for the job. He hired Miller and partnered him up with a veteran artist, Brian Hitch, and they immediately got to work. The efforts of this team-up resulted in what was titled The Ultimates. Gone are the days where the Avengers are living in a mansion with a British butler. This team, founded by super spy Nick Fury, are a government-contracted military group set to save the world from annihilation-level threats. Brian Hitch stated, quote, "We just set out with a basic idea. What would we do if we had to make the Avengers as a movie? There were obviously things you keep and things you don't. You have to approach it as though nothing has happened before and tell the story fresh from the start. Find the current day relevance and the best actors. We had to get to the core of who these people were and build outwards. So Cap was a soldier, Thor is either a nutcase or a messiah, Banner an insecure genius, and Fury the king of cool." End quote. The Ultimates follow this ragtag team as they must learn to work together to stop the world from ending from a secret alien invasion. The premise of the Ultimates working like a film is where it shines the most. The art is beautifully drawn, the pacing is well done as it bleeds into each issue, the action sequences have moments of greatness, and the structure allows for a reader to jump in and be engaged. This approach to storytelling within a comic is what makes the Ultimates stand out in a long list. Gone is the long-winded narration of the 60s and 70s, and in is the cinematic dialogue and movement of the modern era. It allows for the Ultimates to be remembered for how it's told, and the approach one could take for a superhero film. The Ultimates was a huge success, with the first issue becoming the best-selling comics of that year. It was the win that Marvel needed, and surely would stand the test of time. While the Ultimates was a game-changer for Marvel at the time, upon further review it is very, very flawed. To combat the quirky colors, the Ultimates leaned into the serious, edgy tone of the late 90s and early 2000s. Black leather, grunge, and topical references are flooded throughout the comic. This oversaturation to the time period leads to the story feeling more dated than any of its predecessors. The plot plays out much like a 90s action film, with one-liners that, while thinking are incredibly cool, are filled with camp that lacks self-awareness. However, the biggest problem that the Ultimates face is the characters themselves. With updating the characters for this new universe in the modern age, there are bound to be changes, and there should be. However, the Ultimate characters are taken to an absolute extreme level of angst. Captain America is a cold, stern prick overly stuck in World War II. Iron Man is a gleeful war profiteer. Thor is an environmentalist hippie constantly fighting the status quo. And Hulk is an overly insecure, dumb, horny monster who turns into the Hulk because his girlfriend is hitting on Freddie Prinze Jr. The reason Hulk fights at all in the end is because Captain America tells him that the alien threat It's all over his girlfriend. There's also this panel of Hulk yelling, "You straight." So, yeah.
Are we cringing yet?
Overall, the main characters in the conflict feel like parodies of themselves. Only the tiniest qualities are found in their DNA, and their interactions between each other feel more like a child playing with his toys. The team has no moments of when they finally work together to save the day. Rather, they come together to boost the sake of their egos. The only characters that fit well within this universe and story are Nick Fury, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. The rest are left as extreme versions phoning it in to save the day. The thinly veiled plot and characters make coming back to this comic very difficult. That being said, the impact the Ultimates had in the media is undeniable. Joss Whedon, director of the first two Avengers films, said, quote, "It's my feeling that Ultimates brought Marvel into the modern age in a way no other book did," end quote. Its influence can be found all over in the Avengers and MCU. Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury bringing the team together, Black Widow and Hawkeye being best friends and Black Ops spies, the Alien Invasion third act, and Captain America never giving up are all elements that were based from the Ultimates. The Ultimates had some great ideas and things that were ahead of their time, but it lacked fully fleshing out those ideas. While the Ultimates lacked execution, the MCU was able to expand upon the templates of the Ultimates and create more moments that fans will remember, and keep the Avengers assembling for years to come.